I had an in-lab sleep study done about a week and a half ago, and I wanted to share my experience with this study in case there's anyone else who's about to go through the same study, or I don't know, if you're just interested in what it's like to sleep in a lab with 1,000 wires strapped to your head. So that's today's video. I can't find my SD cards, so I'm using my phone to record my audio, and man, if it ends up being better than my very expensive mic, that's going to be annoying. Anyways, I'm Jenna or Jenna Cat, and I create lifestyle vlogs here on YouTube with an emphasis on productivity, creativity, and self-care. And honestly, understanding your body is a huge part of self-care. Not only understanding it, but obviously taking care of its physical and medical needs. Very important for self-care. So if you've been watching any of my recent videos, I probably have mentioned once or twice that I couldn't complete something because I was feeling super fatigued or unwell. And yeah, that has been my reality for the last few years, but especially the last 6 months to a year. Okay, yes, Padfoot's got a little Halloween jumper on, even though it's not Halloween. He's got a scab on his back, so I have this on him so he doesn't scratch at it more. Okay, sorry, side note with the cat. The last 6 months to a year, my fatigue has progressively and exponentially gotten worse. Honestly, even the last, 3 weeks, my fatigue has really skyrocketed. So I have been on a mission to find out what the hell's wrong with my body. I will talk about the results of my sleep study towards the end of this video, but the main point of this video isn't necessarily the results. To begin, I will say that first I had an at-home sleep study done. And typically I think that if you're gonna have a sleep study done, they will do the at-home sleep study first. At least for my situation, we were specifically looking for obstructive sleep apnea. When you do the at-home sleep study, you have something that you stick to your chest and something that you put on your finger, and then it attaches to this little, almost like Game Boy looking device. And as soon as you put it on and pull the little tab, there's like in the little finger slip, there's a tab that the second you pull that off, it starts the test. And so you have to leave it on your finger the whole night. And then you have the thing on your chest. I believe those were the only two things that were stuck to you. Yeah, those are the only two, the chest and finger sensor. And you sleep with that all night, and I remember that night getting pretty crappy sleep because having even just 2 wires was pretty annoying. Sweet summer child, how easy I had it back then. So my at-home sleep study results came back about 2 weeks later, and my sleep doctor read the results and said, I don't see any indication of obstructive sleep apnea. You can go ahead and try an in-lab sleep study, but I feel very confident that you probably don't have obstructive sleep apnea. But of course, this is up to you. You can go ahead with a further testing if you'd like. And I asked her, this was all through my chart, so email essentially. I asked her, is it worth doing the in-lab sleep study? What are the chances that my at-home sleep study was wrong? She said the home sleep study has about 13% false negative rate. So that is why she offers the option of repeating the study in lab, because the in-lab is a lot more accurate. And I said, you know what? I'm so fucking fatigued all the time. My primary care doctor has given up figuring out what's wrong with me. I'm seeing a new naturopath that is doing more tests. But if I can rule out a sleeping disorder 100% so that I can know what to focus on instead, I'm going to do it. So I said, YOLO, let's go ahead and order in-lab sleep study. So she went ahead and ordered it. She asked me if I would want a sleeping pill, and I'm like, yeah, probably. I can't sleep in unknown places, let alone unknown places where I know I'm going to be covered in wires. Yeah, let's get that sleeping pill, please. So I had to wait for insurance to approve it. Once insurance approved it, I called the sleep lab on Friday, May 23rd to make my appointment. And they were like, we have an opening on Sunday, May 25th, 2 days later, for an in-lab sleep study. And I'm like, man, that's pretty soon. I also was going to be at the coast that weekend. So I was like, man, that's pretty soon. Are there any others? And they were like, we have some towards the end of July. And I'm like, all right, so we're doing May 25th. Let's go. Yeah, because I didn't want to wait until July. That's crazy. I think they must have had a cancellation, and that's why they were able to get me in so quick. That was kind of a whirlwind of a weekend, but essentially, they gave me paperwork to fill out at home. I printed it, filled it out. A lot of it was like a questionnaire of like how my sleep normally is, what time I normally go to bed, if I drink caffeine, if I drink alcohol, if I like smoke, all of those types of health questionnaires, but specifically a lot of questions obviously related to my quality of sleep as like kind of like a baseline of like, this is how I feel during the day. A lot of it is the questions of like, when you're driving, how likely are you to doze? If you're sitting and watching TV, how likely are you to doze? If you're stopped at a stoplight, how likely are you to doze? Those types of questions. I answer pretty heavily likely to doze on a lot of those types of questions. I feel like a lot of my day is spent fighting off fatigue and dozing. So that's why I felt like I was such a good candidate for some sort of sleeping disorder. I think I just sort of tilted my hand in that moment, the way I said that, maybe alluding to what my results were. But anyways, okay, so fill out that paperwork. I think it was like 3 pages of paperwork and then like consent and that kind of stuff. What I didn't realize, so part of what I wanted to do was gonna vlog the experience, right? That was my main thing, is I was gonna vlog the experience. I was gonna be sitting in the like little band with all the wires on my head and be like, hey guys, what's up? This is what's happening right now. But when I was filling out the consent forms, it says, you will be videotaped the entire time. And I was like, ooh. That feels real awkward to me, to be vlogging while I'm being recorded by someone. I know it sounds super hypocritical, but me filming myself in front of other people gives me so much anxiety. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to film some B-roll in the bathroom and like a little bit of stuff before I go to bed, but I'm not going to like actually vlog the experience. So that's why we're doing this like chitty chat instead. So I fill out those forms, and then my check-in time was 7:30. My bedtime was 10. So yeah, that's a significant 2.5 hours before I go to sleep. So I check in at 7:30. Also, I was told because I was going to be taking the sleeping pill, they require that someone picks me up from my appointment. So my boyfriend dropped me off and picked me up. I show up. I have to fill out a couple more forms to ask. I don't remember what those forms were. I think it was maybe more consent forms. And I think some more forms about like, if I drink any caffeine or alcohol or whatever during the day, which I had. I had a bit of caffeine and a bit of alcohol that day, but it's fine. Like, I think they just need to know, like, in case it affects your sleep significantly. So part of the reason why they have you check in so early is because putting on all the wires takes about 45 minutes. So what is the process? My nurse for this was phenomenal. I loved her. She was so sweet, so like bubbly and energetic, and like very just like straight to the point, doesn't cut around the edges, doesn't beat around the bush. Loved her. She was great. So she was saying that because it was Memorial Day weekend, it was a holiday weekend, she was the only sleep, what do they call them? Sleep nurse, sleep practitioner? I don't know what they call them. She was the only sleep person there. It was me and one other person doing the study. I did not see this other person during the entirety of this like little experiment. I wouldn't call this an experiment, but I didn't see the other person at all. And I never even heard them, honestly. Occasionally I'd hear the sound of running water, but I didn't hear any noises they made. I didn't hear their voice. I didn't hear anything, but she explained to me that she was the only one in the office because her coworker took the weekend off because it was holiday weekend, and she was annoyed that they were letting the other person check in at 9 o'clock when both of our bedtimes is at 10. So even though she was able to hook me up at 7:30, well, probably by the time she hooked me up, it was like 7:40, almost 8. Even though she was able to hook me up early, she still has to tuck me in. There's like a whole tucking in process. So she was like, why'd they let this person check in so late? I have to hook him up, tuck him in, and then tuck you in. That's going to be a lot. So anyways, fill out the paperwork, and then, she informs me that I will be on camera the entire time. Like, as soon as I walked in that room, camera's recording and does not stop. So if I want to undress, do it in the bathroom. Some people probably don't care, but most people probably do. So if there's anything you need to do that you don't want on camera, go do it in the bathroom. So, I changed in my pajamas in the bathroom, came back out and sat on a chair, and yeah, she just started hooking me up to all the little things. They use this like paste, it's gross, this weird paste to stick the probes on, and they stick it like all over your head. On the paperwork that I filled out, it said to have shampooed but not conditioned hair. I got home about an hour and a half before I needed to leave for this appointment. Did not realize that my hair needed to be shampooed until about 45 minutes before I needed to leave. So I had to take a very quick shower, shampoo my hair, and blow dry it, because I'm like, they probably don't want my hair to be wet. So that was stressful too. And pack for this little overnight stay. But then when she was like hooking it all up, she was like, oh yeah, people will say to me like, oh, I didn't wash my hair. And I was like, it's okay. It doesn't matter because your hair's getting all messy anyways. I'm like, so I didn't need to wash my hair? Confused about that one. The paperwork said it makes it easier for the paste to stick if your head is clean, but you don't have conditioner or products, because, it gets slick and stuff in the way, whatever. So while she's hooking me up, we're just chatting, getting to know each other, having a good time. And then once she hooks me up, she gives me this beautiful necklace to wear, which is the thing holding all my wires, which will, when it's time for me to go to bed, it will go somewhere else. But until it's bedtime, I just walk around with the necklace of wires. So I don't know what all of the wires mean, to be honest, but I had a bunch on my head, and then the tube that goes into my nose, and then I had sensors on my legs as well. So like the in-lab sleep studies, not just looking for sleep apnea, it's looking for all sorts of sleep disorders, including restless leg syndrome. And I thought for sure I'd have at least restless leg syndrome. Okay, tipping my hand again to my results. But so it was just very interesting. I just was covered in wires. But when she was done hooking me up, she said I could just chill until bedtime. I'm like, okay. So she gave me the remote to the TV, showed me how to work the TV. But I was like, I don't really want. I was like, tried to watch some cable, but I was like, nah, I want to watch The Last of Us because this was the season 2 finale. And I'm like, well, I need to watch it. So I brought my iPad so I could watch it. And yeah, just sitting there covered in wires watching The Last of Us season 2 finale and chilling with my stuffed animals. The other weird thing is, like, if I ever needed anything, I could just be like, hey, I need something. And she'd be like, okay, like there's intercom in the room that's on all the time. So if like I call out at any point, she can answer me and be like, hey, what do you need? Which will come into play in a little bit. So yeah, I just chilled for an hour, which was great because it got me to like settle in, relax, calm down. I got very sleepy. I was like, I am sleepy. This is great. I'm going to sleep so well tonight. Foreshadowing to what didn't happen. She let me know when the other patient arrived and that she was going to be busy for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I was like, okay, no worries, I'm chill for now. Used the restroom a lot. I had to pee a lot because I drank a lot of water prior because I didn't want to be dehydrated, but I didn't want to be drinking water like right before bed. Didn't work very well. I still had to go to the bathroom multiple times throughout the night. Then it's almost 10 o'clock. It's about 9:50. She did let me know that she would tell me to take my sleeping pill about 10 minutes before 10. So yeah, over the intercom, she's like, okay, Jenna, let's go ahead and take your sleeping pill. It was a very tiny pill. It was super duper tiny. And yeah, I took my sleeping pill and was like, cool, I'm ready to sleep. She came in to tuck me in, which just essentially was like making sure all the wires were still intact and in place. And then she put my big necklace on a little like holder at the side of my bed and then plugged everything into a machine next to my bed. So she essentially is monitoring both me and the other patient's levels throughout the night. And I think I mentioned that I had like something in my nose. So the thing in my nose is testing for breathing. If I breathe through my mouth, if I breathe through my nose, and if any point in the night, if I like choke or struggle breathing, like it would let her know. And she did say, if you have a certain amount of breathing episodes in the night, we will come in and give you a CPAP because that means you definitely have sleep apnea and we want to see how you sleep with a CPAP machine. I was like, cool. Yeah, if that happens, cool. Like, I'm totally ready for that. It's time for bed. Time for bed. I'm feeling sleepy. I have my sleeping pill. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sleep now. And then more time passed, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely time for me to sleep now, isn't it? And also, okay, the really frustrating thing was I couldn't have my phone or watch with me because it would interfere. Well, they don't want the phone like going off and waking people up, and they don't want the watch because the frequencies interfere with their test. So to put all that away, so I had no idea what time it was, so I had no idea how long it took me to fall asleep, but it felt like an eternity for me to fall asleep. I really, really could not sleep. The wires were so annoying. They were so uncomfortable. The pillows were uncomfortable. I should have brought my own pillow. I thought the pillows would be okay, but the pillows were actually really uncomfortable. But the most uncomfortable thing is I sleep on my stomach/side, and I had a bunch of wires like tucked behind my ear. So my ear was pressing against the wires, and it was super duper uncomfortable. And if I needed to turn around, if I wanted to flop over, it was difficult because I have all these wires all over me, and I didn't want to get tangled. I didn't want to rip any of them out of place. So turning around was effort. And yeah, I don't think I slept for the first several hours. I would doze, but I wouldn't. So the sleeping pill did jack squat. And there were a couple times throughout the night where I'd be sleeping, and then I'd jolt awake, which I was like, oh, that must be a sleep disorder, right? That must be. Or my legs were a little fidgety. Like I said earlier, I had to go to the bathroom a couple times at night. So I would be like, hello. And then my nurse would be like, yeah, what's up? I'll be like, I have to go to the bathroom. So she would have to come in, unhook my thing from the machine next to me, put it around my neck so that I could go to the bathroom. I also asked her to come in a couple times to turn the air up because I was getting pretty warm. I'm a pretty warm sleeper, so I ended up wanting it pretty cold in there. She said it was cold, and I was like, nah, it ain't cold enough. Yeah, so it was rough. I didn't sleep well. Eventually, I do remember a chunk of time where I was unconscious, so I did sleep. I did get some sleep. It didn't feel like good, restful sleep. It felt like shit, actually. And then I think around 5 o'clock, she was gonna wake me up at 6. Around 5 o'clock, I woke up and just couldn't fall back asleep. I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm falling back asleep. So I think after I was awake for about, 20 to 30 minutes, I hear her voice and she says, Jenna, I've noticed that you've been awake for a while. Do you just want to get up? I was like, yeah, let's just get up. So she came in, and this part I don't remember, probably because I was so tired, but I think I was just sitting on the edge of the bed when she was taking all the sensors off of me. I must have been, I think I was just sitting on the bed, and the sensors left goop all over me, and she said, a warm shower with soap will get all the goop off. It took a couple warm showers with soap to get all the goop off. I still was finding goop the next day, and that sounds so gross, but yeah, it left a lot of residue. And then I had, there was, tape on my neck. That tape left a red mark for 3 days and left some residue for 3 days. So yeah, that was interesting too. After she took all my stuff off, I texted my boyfriend and said, hey, I'm ready to be picked up. So, he came over, and then when he texted me that he was here, I left the room. So I just hung out in the room until my boyfriend got there to pick me up, which, I was already up earlier than my original wake up time anyway, so I just had time to just chill in the room. And yeah, we get home, and I immediately get back into bed and sleep for another 2 hours because I was so exhausted. I am glad that I was able to get a little bit more sleep at home in my own bed because it was rough. I didn't sleep well. Sleeping pill didn't help at all. It was an interesting experience. It was a little fun just because it was different, but not fun that I slept so terribly. That part was the unfun part. I'm glad I did it because now I know for certain I don't have any sleeping disorders. So my fatigue is still unexplained, but I've ruled out sleep disorder. I don't got that. Yeah, I literally got my results a week later, which was great. I thought I was going to have to wait at least 2 weeks before I got the results, and the results were your study didn't show obstructive sleep apnea, your AHI, or number of events per hour, was 1, must be 5 or more for criteria. The lowest oxygen level was 94%. Normal oxygen is 90% or above, so I have good oxygen level when I sleep. The study had a good amount of sleep with 324 minutes. Ooh, how many hours is that? Yeah, so I got 5.4 hours of sleep that night, and it was not good sleep. And then the 2 hours of sleep I got afterwards. So, but like again, it was super interrupted sleep. Of the 324 minutes recorded, 7% of that sleep was in REM. You had periodic limb movement, which I did mention, but a normal index of 3. Whatever that means. So I had limb movement, but it wasn't abnormal. Oh, my battery's about to die. Okay, hold on. Okay, almost done. To conclude, okay, I had periodic limb movement, but it wasn't abnormal. It was pretty normal limb movement. So my results showed no sleep disorders, which is like great. I didn't want to have to sleep with a CPAP. I didn't want to have to take like medication for sleep. But yeah, I'm now back to, okay, what's causing my fatigues? But now I can go to my naturopath and be like, for sure, not a sleep issue. Let's continue with some more blood tests, which I am meeting with my naturopath tomorrow to talk about my most recent blood test. So I'm making progress in my health stuff. My tips, if you're going to go through an in-lab sleep study, bring your own pillow. 1000% bring your own pillow. Maybe even bring your own blanket if you're pretty specific. Definitely get the sleeping pill. It didn't really do anything, but I can only imagine how much worse my sleep would have been if I didn't have the sleeping pill. Yeah, so definitely do the sleeping pill if your doctor offers it, or if they don't, even just ask for it. Like, hey, I don't think I'll be able to sleep very well. Can I have a sleeping pill for this? You will be on camera, so like just be aware, like wear like something that you feel comfortable sleeping in, but also that you feel comfortable being on camera. Don't be afraid to ask for anything throughout the night. Like I wasn't afraid to be like, hey, can we get the air down? Or can we get the air cooler in here? Hey, I need to go to the bathroom. Or if you're uncomfortable ever, like don't be afraid to be like, actually something is really hurting, or like something doesn't feel right, like don't be afraid to speak up, because like that's why this person is there. And actually I kept thinking like this is probably the safest sleep I'll ever have, because not only am I on camera, not only like can I call for someone and they can come right away, but she's also literally looking at my brain waves and my oxygen and all this. Like she's monitoring all of this stuff about me. So like if something happened to me through the night, she would know immediately. So it's like the safest sleep I've ever had. It just wasn't good sleep. Those are my few little tips. That's kind of like what you can expect from an in-lab sleep study. Not super fun, but very useful to know if you have a sleep disorder, or to know that, hey, you actually don't have a sleep disorder and whatever you're experiencing is something else. So yeah, that's my story. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you want to see more things from me, consider subscribing. And yeah, until the next video, I hope you all have a lovely day. Imagine if we were just cats and could sleep peacefully anywhere we wanted. Then life would be so much better. Like, look at that sleepy boy. Look at that sleepy baby. No problem sleeping whatsoever. They can sleep whenever and wherever they want for however long they want.